Your grandmother's pantry never smelled of rot. In 1949, working families stored enough vegetables to last 8 months using methods that cost absolutely nothing. The gentle crunch of sand around buried carrots, the papery whisper of onion skins in hanging nets, the earthy coolness of root cellars that stayed perfect year-round. Number 3 on this list kept cabbages so fresh that neighbours asked for the secret. Number 8 preserved turnips using nothing but old newspapers and a wooden crate. Here's what the convenience food revolution buried along with those old gardens. Your grandmother achieved what modern refrigeration struggles to match, using wisdom instead of watts. Before we start, hit subscribe because what you're about to learn could transform how you store food forever. Well, let's count down the 10 masterful British methods that made fresh vegetables a winter certainty, not a luxury. Number 10. The newspaper wrap method. What we throw away today was once a kitchen essential. Families would gather around the kitchen table on autumn evenings, radio playing in the background, as they carefully wrapped cabbages and cauliflower in yesterday's Daily Mirror or Telegraph. It wasn't just thrift, it was science. The newsprint absorbed excess moisture, while naturally occurring compounds in the ink acted as mild fungicides, preventing mold. Each vegetable was individually wrapped, its identity scrawled in pencil on the outside, before being stored in cool pantries. When needed, a wrapped cabbage emerged crisp and green, even months later. A newspaper cost mere pennies, yet preserved pounds worth of vegetables. Compare that to our modern approach: plastic bags that trap moisture, accelerate rot, and send our hard-earned produce straight to the compost heap within days. What we've gained in convenience, we've lost in effectiveness. Number 9. The sandbox storage system. Those wooden tea chests that arrived from India weren't discarded. They became precious vegetable storage containers. Filled with ordinary builder's sand, these boxes created perfect environments for root vegetables. The technique was deceptively simple. Pour in a layer of slightly damp sand, arrange carrots or parsnips so they never touched each other, cover with another layer of sand, and repeat. The sand provided consistent humidity while preventing any rot from spreading between vegetables. These boxes were kept in cool, unheated spaces, pantries, cellars, or back rooms. During wartime rationing, when every morsel counted, this method meant families could harvest in September and still be eating crisp carrots in March. Today, we pay for refrigeration that dries out our vegetables within weeks, while our grandparents achieved 6 months of perfect preservation using nothing but sand and wood. Number 8. The turnip crate preservation. The humble turnip, once a staple of working-class British diet, required special treatment. Families collected wooden crates from grocers and lined them with thick layers of newspaper. Turnips were arranged carefully inside, never touching, with additional newspaper between layers. The magic was in the balance. The gaps between wooden slats allowed air circulation, while the newspaper blocked light that would trigger sprouting and bitterness. Weekly inspections were a ritual, with any turnips showing early signs of deterioration immediately removed to protect the others. This system kept turnips firm and sweet until Easter, providing essential nutrients when fresh vegetables were scarce. The cost? Absolutely nothing. The crates were salvaged, the newspaper already read. Yet they preserved vegetables worth precious shillings during lean months. Number 7. The onion rope hanging system. Few sights were more reassuring in a British kitchen than golden onion ropes hanging from ceiling beams. This wasn't just storage, it was practical art. After harvest, when stems were still flexible, families would carefully plait the onion tops together, creating natural ropes that held a dozen or more onions. The technique allowed air to circulate freely around each bulb, preventing the moisture buildup that leads to rot. As these gleaming braids hung in cool, dry spaces with good ventilation, sculleries, pantries, or kitchen corners away from the stove, a properly made onion rope could last from harvest until late spring, with bulbs remaining firm and flavorful throughout winter. Compare that to modern pre-bagged onions that sprout and soften within weeks, costing far more per pound while delivering less flavor and nutrition. Here's where things get ingenious. The methods so far use materials every household already possessed. But the cleverest families understood something modern food science has only recently rediscovered. Vegetables are living organisms that need the right environment to stay dormant, not dead. Your grandmother didn't preserve food, she kept it alive. Number 6. The apple sock storage method. Or when wool socks developed holes beyond darning, they found new purpose as apple preservers. Each sock was filled with a small amount of sawdust collected from local carpenters, then a single perfect apple was nestled inside, followed by more sawdust to completely surround the fruit. The sock was tied closed and hung in a cool, dark space. This method created a microclimate around each apple. The wool breathed while the sawdust maintained ideal humidity without direct contact with the fruit skin. Only unblemished apples qualified for this treatment, with any damaged fruit used immediately for cooking. The result? Crisp, sweet apples available throughout winter and into spring, a luxury that modern refrigeration struggles to match beyond a few weeks. Number 5. The potato darkness technique. As potatoes require complete darkness to prevent greening and sprouting, a fact every British housewife understood implicitly. Wooden boxes lined with black paper created the perfect environment. Potatoes were arranged in single layers, never touching, with additional paper between layers to prevent any light penetration and to absorb excess moisture. These boxes were placed in cool but frost-free locations, under stairs, in cellars, or in unheated back rooms. During wartime, when potatoes formed the backbone of most meals, this storage method ensured families could remain self-sufficient from one harvest to the next. The humble potato box delivered what expensive modern solutions cannot: naturally dormant tubers that remained perfect for months without electricity. Number 4. The cabbage earth clamp. For families with garden space, the earth clamp was winter storage perfection. A patch of well-drained ground became a natural refrigerator. First, a layer of straw created drainage. Then cabbages were arranged in a pyramid, stems facing upward, before being covered with more straw and a thick layer of soil. Cleverly constructed drainage channels prevented waterlogging during winter rains. When a cabbage was needed, a small section of the clamp would be opened, a head retrieved, and the covering carefully replaced. Properly constructed clamps kept cabbages fresh through brutal winter conditions that would freeze modern refrigerators solid. The cost was nothing but an afternoon's labour, yet the reward was months of nutritious green vegetables when gardens lay dormant. Number 3. The carrot sand preservation. This method earned neighbours envy because families who mastered it had crisp, sweet carrots when everyone else's garden was bare. Wooden boxes filled with slightly damp builder's sand became perfect storage environments. Carrots were placed individually, ensuring they never touched, completely surrounded by sand that regulated moisture perfectly, neither too dry nor too damp. The sand created a living environment where carrots remained dormant but alive for up to 6 months. Families who pulled perfect orange roots from sandboxes in March became neighbourhood legends, asked to share their storage secrets. The technique required nothing but salvaged boxes and sand swept up from building sites, yet it outperformed expensive modern solutions in both duration and quality. These weren't just storage methods. They were survival systems, refined over generations of necessity. Each technique solved multiple problems: preservation, space efficiency, cost control, and nutrition maintenance. Modern refrigeration does one job adequately. These methods did 4 jobs perfectly. Number 2. The beetroot newspaper nest. Beetroot required special care to maintain its earthy sweetness through winter. Old kitchen drawers became perfect storage containers when lined with multiple layers of newspaper. Each beetroot was individually wrapped before being nestled into these paper-lined nests. Families developed preferences for particular newspapers based on decades of experience. Some swore the Times had superior absorption properties, while others insisted local papers worked better. Weekly inspections were ritual, more with any beetroot showing signs of deterioration removed immediately and the damp newspaper replaced. This method didn't just preserve, it enhanced. Beetroot stored this way developed a concentrated sweetness as subtle moisture loss intensified flavours. By March, when fresh vegetables were scarce, these ruby jewels provided essential nutrients and culinary delight impossible to replicate with modern methods. Number 1. The root cellar mastery. The pinnacle of vegetable preservation was the properly managed root cellar. Whether a purpose-built garden structure, a converted pantry, or simply a dedicated cellar corner, these spaces created perfect storage environments through masterful control of 4 essential conditions: consistent cool temperature between 32 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, high humidity near 95%, good ventilation to remove ethylene gas, and complete darkness. Vegetables were organized according to their specific requirements: onions and garlic in drier areas, root vegetables in damper sections. Families developed complex rotation systems, ensuring oldest produce was used first while carefully monitoring for any signs of deterioration. A well-managed root cellar meant complete self-sufficiency, with no vegetable purchases needed between harvest and late spring. Here's my challenge for you. Pick 3 of these storage methods and try them this autumn. The newspaper wrap for your cabbages, the sandbox for your carrots, the onion ropes hanging in your garage. Then come back and tell me which vegetables lasted longest. Tell me if your grandmother's methods outperformed your refrigerator. Tell me if storing food this way felt like deprivation or liberation. These weren't just preservation techniques, they were wisdom systems that kept families fed when shops were empty and money was scarce. Share which method you're going to try in the comments. I want to know if the sandbox storage gets more love than the newspaper wrapping. I want to hear if anyone else's grandmother had a root cellar that smelled of earth and possibility. Because food storage wasn't just about keeping vegetables fresh, it was about keeping families independent. Your grandmother knew that. Now you know it too.